Welcome to You Can Trust Yourself with Meg and Maggie. Nothing feels as good as listening to your own voice, and each week we have conversations to help you do just that. Get comfy, grab your favorite fun drink, and let's dive into this week's episode. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of You Can Trust Yourself with Meg and Maggie. Today we are going to be talking about our most favorite things. But of course, you are here on You Can Trust Yourself. So we have decided collectively that we're going to stop just trying to have light episodes and we are going to dive in and tie it back to how these favorite things make us feel, why we choose them, how we choose them, how we are intentional about acquiring them, right? And we're going to tell that side of the story. So instead of just a list and some links, we are going to dive deeper into our favorite things and why they are our favorite things. Mm-hmm. And I think, when we were talking about this conversation before we started to record, there were three things that really came up to me that were really important when it comes to this conversation. And the first one, going with the theme of the episode, is that I need to trust myself that I know what I want, right? So when we're talking about favorite things, we are really the ones that know what we want best. And then once we have decided what those are, how can we intentionally acquire them in ways that support us, support our goals at the moment, right? Versus just getting sucked into what everyone around us is doing. Mm-hmm. And so that's really the conversation that we want to have today, and how our favorite things are not just our favorite, but how they really impact our lives.
Mm-hmm. I love First of all, I have to say this because I always want to say it every episode and I always forget. So hold on before we get to the good stuff. Before the episode starts recording, everybody, it does like this countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I don't know what goes through me at the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but whenever I see those numbers on the screen, Maggie can see it. She's the only one before it starts recording. I start like geeking out. I don't know what it is, but like, I guess that means that I love being here with you and with you all, because as soon as the 5, 4, 1 comes on, I'm like, I'm here. I get like this burst of energy, which is really, really cool. And I don't always experience that in every setting. So I just wanted to share that with you all, that clearly I love being here with all of you, because that countdown comes on and I'm like, here we are. I get all giddy.
I love that.
Me too. But I also, Maggie, when you were saying, so I don't think we've talked about this like more in detail. So what Maggie's referring to of like, when we plan the episodes for you all, sometimes we're like, oh my God, we are so deep and it's wonderful and it's real and it's genuine and it's who we are, right? It's the truth. It's Maggie and I are deep dive type people. We're not surface level individuals. That's not how our friendship is. That's not how we show up in many places of the world. Therefore, sometimes though, when we're like planning episodes, we're like, oh God, we got to give them like a lighter one because we're going so deep. And so the funniest part is that we'll try that, right? We'll be like, okay, keep it light, keep it light, keep it light. And it's like, impossible. As we're saying, keep it light, I'm like gritting my teeth and it's like, try your best to be normal. Like that's what I'm doing. And we've decided we're just going to lean into the fact that we're not really light people. And that's okay. And if you're listening, that means you're probably not, well, I'm not going to say what you are. Who knows? You are here with us. And that means that you don't mind that we go deep and real and not just on the surface.
I feel like that ties in absolutely perfectly to the rest of the conversation, because although it's not a thing, it is a part of us that we love. It's what makes us unique, right? It's what makes this show what it is. Like, it's the whole ethos of the show. And so we should lean into that. And I think that same concept is how I have started to think about the things that I really like, because there's been a lot of things in my life that I have really liked. And I've been, I don't know if afraid is the right word, but for some reason scared to share about them or like really dive into the fact that I love them because I'm worried about what someone else might think, right?
Mm.
And so I'm excited to talk today about our favorite things from this perspective of no, like I'm going to really lean into this. This is my favorite thing. This is why. This is how I get it. This is like the parameters that I use that are important to me right now, and I'm going to be unapologetic about it. And I feel like
Mm.
that tie-in really, I know that wasn't intentional, but it just worked out so perfectly.
It does work out. It's the favorite things, and it's like I love watching videos of people showing their favorite things or their empties. It's a really fun thing that I like watching lately. People showing empty things that they've used, and I think I like it because I'm like, oh, you liked it enough to finish it, and you're talking about it, so you must have really liked this product, right? It hits a little different than if somebody was just like, oh yeah, I really like this, and here's the link, and here's the brand deal I'm working with, right? There's nothing wrong with that. We understand that brand deals, all the things. However, the cool thing is that we are pre-brand deal era. Therefore, everything we're saying, I mean, it would always be authentic because we can't, that's just not who we are. Everything, if we ever, when the day comes that we are representing certain brands or sharing things with you all, believe me that Maggie and I are
It'll be
both.
because we love them.
It'll be because we love them. And the hard part will be is that I know there will be moments where a brand will approach us and it might be a brand that I absolutely adore. And if Maggie doesn't adore it, we are not going to put it out, and vice versa. So if Maggie absolutely loves something, but I'm like, no, I don't love it, I'm lukewarm about it, we're not putting out. And so that's our own journey to be on. However, what that means is that it's authentic. And if we're sharing it, there's intention and we love it. So anyways, today we're going to get into that, and we're going to kind of bounce around through different categories. Some of them are going to be like just products that we freaking love using. But then you're also going to sense the theme of like, we are very intentional people. And I want to give you a quick little story time to kind of paint the picture of where I used to be, which was very unintentional. And I think finances is going to come into this conversation just because things cost money. And I used to be I'm just going to give you an example. Okay. So how many years ago was this? It was during like post-college, first or second year of my first master's program, which I dropped out of, which I share that story on another episode. If you want to go back, I don't remember the episode. Maggie, do you remember what episode that was?
No.
No, just, I guess you're going to have to listen to all 102. But anyways, it was during that season of my life. And that season was challenging in a lot of ways of just, that age, especially 22, 23, like really, where am I going? How am I heading? Blah, blah, blah. So what I found myself doing a lot during that season of life was I had given up like binging food. Like I was in a season of learning how to become an intuitive eater and blah, blah, blah. So what I realized in hindsight is that I went from like binging food to deal with emotions to overbuying on products. It was the overconsumption of buying so much until I'm quote unquote stuffed that then I feel this moment of like, oh, I have all these things and now I feel a little better, right?
Interesting. Yes.
It's super interesting. Our issues tend to bump into each other until we recognize the root of them.
They just move from one area to another.
Oh man, do they move. They just kind of move around until we actually are ready to sit and deal with them. But I'm telling you this story because that during that season of my life, I remember it was insane. I had no money at that time. I was like right out of college, blah, 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 but I had credit cards and I got myself in so much credit card debt. And I remember on a Saturday during that season, I think I was feeling lonely and just the transition of out of college and blah, blah, blah. I would leave like Target with like $400 receipts regularly, $400 that I didn't have. But that's where I was in my life, is that I was buying all these quote unquote favorite things, but it wasn't intentional. It was very unintentional. And in fact, it was very chaotic in the sense that I was just trying to soothe probably the loneliness. Like if I go back in and kind of like, look in that season of my life, I didn't have a community there. So I was lonely and things made me feel better. And so I share that story to just say that I'm so excited to share these things with you all today because that intentional piece has become so big in my life now, but it really wasn't for a really long time. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't buy anything intentional, or I don't participate in anything intentional, it's not all going to be buying related. Um, Me too. There was a time in my life where I also did not as well.
I relate to that so much. Someone recently, I think it was you. I think it was you. Where you were complimenting me about, if it wasn't you, I'm going to attribute it to you because this is totally something you would do. But my like green travel suitcase, whatever, and then I have a green hoodie, and I have green like comfort hoodie, green comfort sweatpants. My sweatpants or ski snow pants and jacket are also, they're all the same color green. And so when I am traveling, I usually look very put together because I don't travel like every month, right? But I do travel more than most people. And so I have very intentionally put time, thought, money into these pieces that I've curated around what I take with me when I leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm traveling, I usually look very put together, but that has been a curation process over years, right? Like those have been multiple years of Christmas presents, multiple years of birthday presents, or like saving up for it, whatever. And now, when I look at that collection of things in particular, like my suitcase, my coat, whatever, all of that, I'm like, ooh, look at me. I look all put together. But that was not my life all the time. And that took a lot of time to curate, right? Now I'm like seeing the result of it. But before, I was very much like you. I wasn't so much a like go shopping for a lot of things at once type of person, but I would like slowly collect individual things. So it was like high frequency, low volume of collecting
Mm-hmm.
things. But the think about clothes, right? None of them matched. Like I would end up with random things that I like kind of liked that like didn't go with anything else in my
Mm-hmm.
closet. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, where now I'm a lot more intentional about buying things that are, there's this concept of like a capsule wardrobe. I'm not that fancy, but I have that in mind of like, I like these colors, I like these types of clothes, I like these things that go together. So it
Yes.
feels more intentional now. But I totally relate to that. Like, I was not like that. I was very unintentional with the things that I purchased. And then I didn't feel good. I didn't feel
Mm-hmm.
good about them. I didn't feel good about myself when I was in them or with them. And it just perpetuated the cycle.
Mm-hmm. I'm so happy that you shared more of what that looks like for you, because let's think about the feeling. We've all had this feeling, right? And if you're having this feeling right now, it's very real, and it's one that I've experienced many times and still do sometimes. However, the intentional feeling is more prominent now than the unintentional feeling. But do you know that feeling like when you go and you just buy like a bunch of like, I don't know, clothes. Let's go with clothes. Let's stick with that example, right? Like a bunch of clothes at, let's say, just like a fast fashion type place, which I've learned is like where they just make it really fast. It's not usually the best quality, and it's just not usually a sustainable way of making clothes. I've been like doing a deep dive on learning more about sustainability, and that is something that I used to do often. And then after a few washes, I'd be like, oh, this material sucks. Like, I don't even like this shirt anymore. Like, what the heck? When I bought it the day of, it was so soft and it felt so great. And now I've washed it 5 times and it's nothing like what I purchased. And I think that feeling of doing that so many times, you start, or you can start to become aware of the fact of like, why am I doing this? Why am I buying 5 t-shirts 5 times a year when I can just go and find a brand that I love and that holds up, and I can continuously rebuy their clothes? So for example, we said we're going to sprinkle in examples. We're going to go with the clothes one because it's probably one of the only ones I have. When I find brands or products that I love, and some of the things that I really look for is one, inclusivity. I want to know that your brand is, for the most part, I haven't done all the research and everything, but with clothes in particular, especially because I am plus size, I want to know that you have a range of sizes, not just plus sizes, but do you also have extra, extra small? Or do you also have things in between? And it's become really important to me because I think that that's a more intentional brand, in my opinion. So Skims is one of my favorite brands that I have found for quality basics. Like, they are just a brand that I have now purchased many items from. My whole underwear drawer now is all Skims, and I love them.
That sounds so comfortable.
They're so comfortable. I try and buy them. Little tidbit here, if you also want to try them out, they have sales all the time. And because they do so many different drops and stuff, they have so many items that go on clearance frequently. So I will typically go back, like right now, for example, it's after Valentine's Day. So I will go now and buy Valentine's Day, whatever I want that's gone on
Oh,
sale.
okay. Uh-huh.
So it's my way of knowing that the material, one thing that I look for if we're going with the clothes category and the intentionality of favorite things, I'm big into material now. So the material modal, MODAL, is like one of my favorite materials. It just holds up, it lasts, and a lot of Skims stuff is usually made with modal. It's also what some of like my favorite luxury pajamas are like.
I just bought some pajamas that were that material, and this was me. This is like one of the first times I did this, but Cause bought me a set of pajamas that I loved, and I looked at the fabric that it was made out of. So here's me in the store, like looking at all the tags, like trying to figure out which one is the same
Yes.
material, and that was the one that I wanted.
Yes, and do you know why? Okay, so I want you to share more, Maggie, or switch us to whatever topic you want, but I want to finish off this clothes part. It's
Yeah.
because when I go to certain stores, I don't know if I should call them out or not. I'm going to call them out. Not in a bad way, because I get other great things. Like Old Navy has my favorite sports bras. They just always fit. They're great. They've lasted me. Love Old Navy sports bras. Their Christmas pajamas, though, after a few washes, are just not it, okay?
No. Yeah,
They're
no.
not it. They're great for a little while and they're perfect for the season. But here's the thing. I know when I go there to get my Christmas pajamas, I know they're just for that season. I'm not buying them to sustain me. So when I'm trying to find favorite things, like you said, the modal, I'm going to pay more for that material. However, I hope they last me 10 years as opposed to 2 months. Right?
Yep.
And so that is one of my favorite things now is being more intentional with my money, putting things that I want into the forefront of my priority list. And do you know what that does for me? It helps me to not impulse buy, which I'm always trying to do, people. I don't want any of you listening to this, like when we do have brand deals or we do work with companies or whatever it is, I want you to buy what you align with, okay? You should never feel, we as humans should never feel like we have to buy to please or because there's this impulse, right? And that is our whole world. We talk about this like probably every episode, but like it's our whole world of consumerism. And our, like, I should say mine, because I'm not going to speak for you, Maggie. My, like, what's a word to say, like, come back or like my way to like negate that world? I don't know.
I feel like I should know the word that you are asking, and my brain just completely blank. So anyway, just go on like you said it.
We're just going to go on. My way of like combating, maybe that's the word, like to
That's
combat.
a good word, yeah.
My way of combating that world of impulse buying and making people feeding off their emotions and things like that is to say, no, I've outsmarted your system and I'm going to put my money where I need to. Oh, and then I'm going to go share it with our entire community of trustees because I also want them to hold on to their money and only put their money where they trust themselves to put their money. The self-trust applies everywhere, right? Here we go, narrowing down on our mission. But I felt like I had to say that in the clothes department.
Yes, I love that. I love how you tied it into the finances. I was going to ask you if you didn't bring it up yourself because I'm going to stay with clothes for a second because this is an area where I have experienced almost the same exact thing. And for me, I love activewear. I'm literally wearing leggings, a workout top under this sweater right now. Like every single moment I can be in activewear, I am. And I just said to Cause the other day, I was like, it's stupid that there's places you have to go where you can't wear leggings. Like I just want to wear leggings all the time. But anyway, I love TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Sierra, like all of those. I love those stores so much. It's so much fun, like sorting through all of the pieces, like looking for good finds. However, I used to buy like only the cheapest things that I could find, right? So if I was looking for a new pair of leggings, I would go to the clearance rack and I would find, whatever type of ones I was looking for. I would try them on. I'd be like, okay, they fit. And then I would buy them. And then couple washes later, the seam would be unraveling. I would notice that when I was running, they would fall down, or exercising, they would fall down, or like they fit really weird. So guess what I did? I would go back and buy another pair. And you know how much money you end up spending when you are repeat buying things? Like you're saying, why am I going to buy the same thing 10 times this year when I could buy it once, right? And I know that that piece is going to last me. And so my favorite brand in the activewear is Vitality. And I love almost all of their pieces. Like I have gotten pretty good about knowing when I'm going to like something and when I'm not. But their leggings stay up, they stay in place, and I have had them for years. Like just last year, what year is it? It's 2025. So in 2024, I gave away like the original leggings I bought from them in 2017. Like that's how many years I have had them for. And they were perfectly fine. I just had maybe too many because I bought more and I wanted to like refresh my closet. And so I gave them away. They're perfectly fine, no holes, nothing. Like the next people who received them were so excited because they were like, oh my God, these are the best. And I love that brand. I know I love that brand. I know I love what they produce. The clothes are very high quality. They last me a really long time and they cost more money. They
Mm,
cost more money.
mm,
But guess what? I end up spending less money buying those pieces that I love than I would if I was buying activewear constantly from other stores that I didn't like.
mhm,
Right? It
mhm.
feeds when we're constantly buying things that we don't actually love. Like you said, it feeds that cycle of feeling like you need to go back and buy more, right?
Amen.
Because you're not satisfied with your purchase.
Mhm,
And so, what I have been craving is that satisfaction with my
mm,
purchase, right? I love this thing. This is what I wanted to add to my wardrobe. I'm going to have it for a long time. And I know that I've made the right purchase if I feel less impulsive to buy something else
mm,
afterwards, right?
mhm,
I agree with you. I don't think that feeling of wanting to buy things goes away. We live in consumerism, right? Like we live in a culture where everything is marketing and it's thrown at you all the time, and those impulses are normal. Like
mhm,
in the space that we live, we're going to feel that way. But one of the things that I measure my purchases by is like, how do I feel after?
mhm,
Like do I feel satisfied? It's like this like calm content with like a little
mm,
smile on my face,
mm,
instead of
mhm,
being like really heightened emotions that die out really fast.
mm. You have talked about that concept across different settings a few times, and I love when we get to peek inside of your mind, like me and the trustees, because what that your power is in the feeling and in the reflection. So you, to me, are like the queen of reflection, in my opinion.
Thank
And
you.
you're welcome. Here's your crown. Um, and it's everything. Your power lies there, right? And let's all be really honest. Money has power. Our money has power collectively, mainly, but it has power.
Mm-hmm.
So if enough of us were able to do that for ourselves, it is a very simple way for us to build self trust, right? Because that, like Maggie said, when we live in a world that is all consumerism 24/7, you are either going to constantly feel, which many of us do, I still even find myself doing it, which I actually want to talk about this example. I'm actually very excited to talk about this example, and I have mixed feelings talking about it because it's a brand that I've loved and used for a long time, and there's a different part of it. So I'll get to that in a second, but that power of reflecting on our purchases and our favorite things, they don't even have to be purchases. Like, let's use an example of maybe a new class that you go to, a pottery class, or for me, I'm in pickleball camp, right? And I paid $100 this month to do a month-long pickleball camp, right? Do you know, in the past, it's actually a great way to bring these two together. this pickleball, it's not even about the pickleball. Okay. The game of pickleball, it's fun. It's fine. Whatever. I'll play it every now and again. I'm not like, going to the Olympics. I don't even know if it's in the Olympics, but it's not about the pickleball. It's about the humans that are at the pickleball court, and the fact that I've been going to this camp with them for a month, and tonight's my last night of it actually, as we record, and it's about going and being like, hi, oh, do you want to get coffee maybe after this? Hi, laughing, having fun, play. Like, that's what it's about for me. Do you know what that does for me? It makes me feel less alone in this world because I'm going and seeing and touching real people. Well, okay, I got to tell this really quick. I have this thing where I want to touch people. I think I've shared this before. I keep it under control. Okay. And I probably shouldn't even be saying this out loud. I don't do it to my clients. I don't do it to people. I don't do it. But I have this thing that when I start to like people, I want to start to touch you. And I want to, if it gets really weird or if I start to love you, I want to smell you. And it's a very, I think I'm going to start crying. I can't believe I'm sharing this. Wow. I'm really letting you all in. If I like you, I start to touch you. Not in a weird way. I just want to
Like she just
touch.
like wants to give you a hug or like touch your shoulder or something or like pet your hair. Like,
Yeah. It's deeper than a hug. I want to touch you. Like I want to hold your shoulder or like your hair. I'm not being weird. Like I'm not going to like feel you up or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then if I love you, I want to start to smell you. When I hug you, you're going to notice me smell your hair. Like that's just, it's my way of like taking you all in. Like I don't know how else to put it. It means you are very loved and whatever. So at pickleball, I'm starting to feel like I just want to like touch their shoulders and stuff, right? Because I like them. I like the humans. So this is to say,
I love this so much. Please continue.
I've spent $100 this month to prioritize pickleball camp, right? And it has satisfied, for the most part, this lonely feeling that I feel a lot of times in life. I feel disconnected from humans a lot of times. So going to these community-based things makes me feel connected to humans. So let's get back to where Meg was a few years ago when I felt so lonely in that season of my life. If I had camps and activities, I think the impulse to fill my cart up with bullshit would have decreased because the actual need was met.
Yes.
So this is where I'm going to get a little psych for a second. We have these needs and it's like we're trying to meet them with like these fake things. What's the right description I can use for this? I was a Twihard as a kid, so Twilight, and the vampires would describe that human blood to them was like the real deal, whereas eating animal blood was like tofu. That's what this is. I hope this analogy is making sense, or I'm just a real weirdo this episode.
No, it does. It makes sense.
The target cart of $400 was the animal blood. The
Correct.
connection with the humans and the community is the real human blood.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Good luck synthesizing that one, Maggie.
No, I got you. It makes perfect sense. And the key here, like the thing that ties it back, is the intentionality, right? Because if you are unintentional about putting your money into things that will give you that real need, right? It'll satisfy that real need, which is paying for pickleball ahead of time for something that you're not going to go to for a couple weeks and then you'll go once a week, right? The intentionality required to do that that's challenging. We have to like think about that and slow down, right? And be like, okay, what is it that I want? How can I find that thing? If we're unintentional about putting our money, our time, our energy into those things that really satisfy what the need actually is, that's when we end up in Target with the cart, right? Because need. I need. I didn't satisfy it. Now I just have to go like satisfy this need by buying things at Target instead of connecting with humans, right? And like, no shame to anyone that does that. Like, we're literally here telling you that we have done / do that too. And when you look at it from like, you take a couple steps back and you look at it, you're like, wait a second, why did I do that? This doesn't even make any sense, right? Like I need to be more intentional about these things.
Right.
And I think when you get to that point, that's when you start to change the decisions that you make.
And the power, and actually, if it's okay, Maggie, I'm going to ask you a question because you're going to explain it better than I can, but it really correlates. And it's so funny how the overlap, I started talking about food in the beginning and it overlaps here.
Yeah.
I want you to go to Target. Get that
Yes.
cart at Target. I love Target. I go multiple times a week to Target. I have one right down the road from me now. I'm in Target multiple times a week. However, now I haven't bought clothes from Target in a really long time because I've learned that clothes at Target just don't sustain for me. However, different things I love getting there. They actually sell my eggs. My favorite brand of eggs I find at Target, Vital Farms eggs. I love those eggs. They're great. And I repurchase them all the time at Target. My Target has great avocados. I don't know why. They always have really good avocados, right? I get Epsom salt, fragrance-free Epsom salt at Target. Like, there's so many things at Target that I buy and love, but that impulse to fill this void, the void is filled in other ways. My needs are met in other ways. Therefore, now it's a choice. So now I can make the choice, which, oh God, I love a fun purchase that doesn't make any sense. I'm not out here like everything is intentional and curated. Absolutely not. Sometimes I have moments where I say to myself, Meg, go spend $20 impulsively. Get anything that doesn't make any sense. Buy stupid stuff, right? But have a parameter around it so that, one, you don't go into the place where you used to be, which was spending money that you didn't have. And two, it keeps some boundaries around it that you're okay with this because you're doing it out of a choice for yourself, out of self-respect. It almost makes me think, Maggie, and this, if you think it's a worthy example, please share it for us. But if you don't, we can kind of move on. It makes me think of when we think about balancing our blood sugar, like with food, you eat to balance yourself, right? To balance your blood sugar. Then it's a choice to have the chips or the sweet treat, the things that we know aren't really nutritious. However, they're fun and joyful and wonderful. And it's like the cherry on top. Target is my cherry on top. The sustainable things are out of the choice. So if you think that's a good example of the food stuff, please share it. But I think it correlates here.
Yeah, I think so too. So to go a little sciencey first, um, our blood sugar plays tons of roles in the way that we feel, right? Like that, I think that that is the main thing that we could focus on here. When our blood sugar is more balanced, so that means that the spike is happening slower and the crash is happening slower. It's not that it's not happening, it's just not as steep. We feel more sustained energy, right? And that happens when we eat balanced meals, fiber, fat, protein, carbohydrates, right? Um, Complex carbohydrates, fiber, fat, protein, they get broken down pretty slowly by your body, right? Refined carbohydrates, think like dessert, chips, something like that, right? They get broken down really fast by your body. And so breakfast is my favorite example of this because it is, I think, the easiest to imagine because we've all been there. When you have a donut for breakfast, you wake up in the morning and you have a donut for breakfast, right? At first, you're like, oh my God, this is the best donut I've ever had in my life because you're hungry, right? And the sugar rush hits you. And then what happens after you eat the donut? You crash, right? You crash. And when you set your day with a food that gets broken down extremely quickly by your body, and then you have a crash, just hit my mic. Every single decision you make after that is impacted by the fact that your brain is not sustained well for the day,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whereas if we can have a meal in the morning for breakfast that has more fat, more protein, complex carbohydrates, think like eggs with avocado, maybe a piece of sourdough toast, right? Some berries, then that breakfast is going to get broken down a lot more slowly by the body, and your energy is going to be more sustained throughout the day. And then you make better decisions for the rest of the day, right? And so, what I'm saying here is that eating balanced foods first is really great. What I'm not saying is that you should never ever have a donut. That's not what I'm saying, right? It's not that we should never ever have a donut. It's maybe, I know I would really like a donut today, and it would probably be better if I ate that after I ate some protein and fat, so that way my body is prepared to handle that donut, right? And I think that this similar type of concept applies to what you're talking about with finances, because I think when, we fall into the I can never ever have a donut, donuts are they're the worst thing on the planet, I can't have them, then what's the only thing that you want?
A
You want
donut.
donuts, right? You just want donuts, and then eventually you find yourself eating a whole pack of Munchkins or the whole 12 pack of Dunkin' Donuts,
Amen.
and then you're like, oh, what happened? I can't believe I did that, right? And that's what happens when we go through those really restrictive cycles. So I really like what you're saying about budgeting a realistic amount of money that you can blow, right? This is my fun money. I can do whatever the heck I want with this, because it's not that we should never have the donut. It's that maybe we should have the eggs first, right? And so budgeting that money, I think, is really valuable because you get to have fun and you do it in a way that's in alignment with the rest of your life.
Yes. Yes. And do you know what it really does, Maggie? Thank you for sharing that, by the way, because one, I think that's just valuable in general. We're not taught enough about food, and I know I certainly wasn't. And that's what I think in so many ways put me when I was in that younger, lonely, I look back at that time of my life and I'm like, God, she was, the binging, it was just a hard season. And so thank you for sharing that, because no, we don't talk about that enough, and people aren't taught that enough. Therefore, we end up in these systems, and it's like, of course we did, right? We didn't know any better. We did the best we could at different moments. I genuinely believe that about most. I believe most humans, I believe most of us are doing the best we can at different times, right? And learning more and having more knowledge. And in our case, what we really believe in, and hence why this podcast exists, is that having self-trust and nurturing your ability to trust yourself also gives you that power. So is antidote the right word? Like the opposite? I should know that.
Yep.
It gives us the power of, as being humans, to say, okay, I see how the system is created. I see that this shit is all about wanting us to buy fast, and I see that it wants to keep us coming back for more, right? The system wants us to keep shopping. There's nothing wrong with shopping, and eat the eggs first. It's like a silly analogy of like, have the self-trust with you first. I am happy to give Target my money. I'm happy to give Old Navy my money. I'm happy to give Pickleball my money. I'm happy to give everybody money, right? However, I don't have endless amounts of money. So I can't just go out here willy-nilly and be like, money for everybody, right? I don't have that. I'm on a budget. I have to be careful with where my money goes. Therefore, I have learned over time, and this is what you all can do at home and start to think about, which, first of all, this conversation is just going to make you think about it in general, because when we hear conversations like this that others share and let us into, it makes us automatically like, I remember when they said this, maybe this applies to me here, right? Now I know from experience and learning self-trust of myself that pickleball is more sustainable. Pickleball is the eggs. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Target is the donut.
Exactly.
Right? The Target shopping, impulse buying, heavy binging of a bunch of stuff. It's really fun stuff. They always have great stuff, which, by the way, Target, I know we're talking about you a ton. You're killing it with the spring collection this year. Everything spring is freaking fabulous. I just have to share that. Like, you guys you're killing it with spring. But Target is the donut. I'm still going to have the donut, okay? But pickleball is the eggs. It sustains me. It's really filling that need of community. So that money comes first, and then I can add in those other things. And that concept, I know we're being really weird with the analogies, but I think you who are listening, you're going to get it. Like, if you're here with us, like, you get it. And it's powerful. And it's really, I just wish that I knew that at different times.
Yeah, I do too. And I'm happy that I am learning it now, right? And I feel like I have done a lot of learning. So we're like through a lot of it, I feel like, but still pretty young. So we're going to learn lots of stuff still.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always get excited to share these things because I'm like, oh, but what if you thought about it this way, right? Like, what if, what if we could change the way that we thought about that so then we can have a different experience? And one of my favorite things, I want to get into sharing another one of my favorite things, which is not, it is a thing, but it's not a thing. But it really ties into being intentional with where I put my money, is a shared grocery list on my phone
Mm.
with my husband. So we both have iPhones, and on the Reminders app, you can create shared lists. So I created a list that's groceries and I share it with him. And so we can both add things when we notice they need to be added to the list, and we can both check them off if either of us, goes to the store and purchases them. Another thing I really love about it is that you can add photos in the like specific list item. So let's say I want, like you're saying you want eggs, but you want the Vital Farms one, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
Matt is not paying attention to the brand of eggs, but you want this one. You can snap a picture of it, so when he sees eggs, he'll see the picture, and then when he goes to the store, he'll be like, oh, these are the eggs. Great, right? And it just streamlines that communication process. And I love using this list. We have been using it for years, and it helps so much because not only does it alleviate a lot of the like mental load of me trying to remember everything and make sure the household is taken care of, because that falls mostly on my shoulders by choice, and by the way that works best for our family. It gives us the opportunity to make sure that we are curating our list of things that we want to buy based off of what we need. And it helps me stay more intentional in the store, right? Because it's not that I'm never going to buy something fun in the store. I love like to grab a drink out of the cooler, when I'm leaving the grocery store for my drive home. We'll probably do that every time. Yes. And it makes it so that way I'm not just like driving through every single aisle, like pulling random stuff off the shelves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that's one of my favorite things. Shared grocery list.
You shared that, so Maggie just shared that with me before we hit record, and I was like, that may be one of the best things I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
It does multiple things for you guys, and for you in particular. It makes lists that are not always visible, which again, Glennon, I love you. I'm hearing it from your podcast, so I have to shout it out. I'll never hear concepts and not give credit to where credit is due. But it was a We Can Do Hard Things podcast episode, and they were talking about, invisible lists and all those things. And so that a lot of times primarily falls on women in this society. That's just how it tends to be, and it's bullshit. So we have to figure out a way to make said invisible list visible. Right now it's a visible list between you and Cause. So even though you and Cause, you primarily take on that, I love your by choice. That's my favorite part. Like, yeah, by choice. That's the intentional part. It's not by
I want my
default.
house to be organized, okay?
Sure. And it's the intention of it's an intentional decision that you run more of those things, and it's not by default and by expectation. So by making those, we tend to take on things, different humans in different seasons and cultures, blah, blah. We tend to take on things by default sometimes. And the best way to not take them on by default is to make a conscious decision about it. And so for you, you've made your invisible list visible. You both get to participate in said list, and it keeps you more focused and in alignment of what you need. And God, there's nothing I love more than a shortcut. Give me a shortcut. Give me a hack. I recently learned, actually, let's make this a favorite thing for me. I kind of want to bounce back and forth now, Maggie, to
Yeah.
give some of our favorite things now here at the end of the episode. I was in the iPhone or Apple store, and I was looking at, what was I looking at? Oh, I was there getting my laptop fixed. And the person was showing me that my iPad can do like the Apple Intelligence and the talk thing. The talk thing has been around forever. Okay, so when you open up the iPhone or the iPad and you hit like the little microphone button and you can talk to text.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
that's been around forever. Yeah, look at Maggie. She's like, yeah, of course. I've been using that since middle school. Meg didn't know that. I'm just kidding. Meg didn't know that until 2 months ago. It changed my life. It's one of my favorite things now.
Oh, it certainly is. I can confirm it's one of her favorite things now.
It's one of my favorite things. I talk to text all the time. I even do it for my clients' notes when I'm alone because it's HIPAA compliant. It's still on the safe, like, EHR app and blah, blah, blah. And it has saved me so much time and energy. And so that is a favorite thing of mine. Talk to text is fantastic. Another favorite thing I'm going to share, and then if we can go back and forth, Maggie, I think that'd be amazing. I kind of want to share one of our shared favorite things because I know that we both love them. And on cue, our water bottles. We love the Hydra Jug 40-ounce tumblers.
Mine is 30, to be fair.
Oh, God, okay, Maggie's is 30, so it was ruining our favorite things moment together. However,
they look the same. You can
they
tell.
look the same. I love that for her. This kind of ties in. I'm going to say this really quick and then I want to bounce. But remember when Stanley was like super big and everybody was getting Stanleys? What did I do? I got Stanleys. What did I keep doing? I kept buying a bunch of Stanleys. A new color would come out. Oh, I better get that. Right? Everybody has the Stanleys. Until I learned I don't really like the Stanleys that much, right? They spill. They're kind of like children. You got to like hold them up. You can't like just drop them in your bag. Stanleys are a little more high maintenance. I want a low maintenance water bottle. So do you know what filled that need for me? My Hydro Jug. It doesn't leak. The colors are super cute. It's sustainable. It's lasted me. I've only bought one other one since about a year. And it's wonderful. It fits in my car cup holder. Drop it in the bag. Like, it's a shared favorite thing. And it may not be what everybody else has, but it's a brand that I like their water bottle.
Yeah, you introduced me to the Hydro Jug, this type of one. I've had a Hydro Jug for a long time, like the big Jim Bro one, like the half gallon, like with the strap. I've had that for a long time. Oh yeah, it has a sleeve, it has a strap. I love that thing. Like if I'm going on a long car ride, that thing is getting filled up. It's coming in the car. Then I can refill up my water bottle. But this one, like you said, fits in the cup holder, doesn't spill, has straw. Very good.
She's cute. We love our Hydro Jugs.
10 out of
Okay,
10
Maggie,
approved.
give me another favorite thing.
All right. This one was just silly before the episode. However, it really does align. If you're watching, you can see on the camera. But this pen, these are Sharpie S Gel pens. Okay.
I need a link.
0.7 millimeter thickness, whatever. I also like the 0.5, but the 0.5 does not come in the fun colors. We have green, we have purple, we have blue,
I
black,
love this.
white.
You are sharing pens right now. It's my favorite thing I've ever seen.
I don't know where the rest of them are. They're in the other cabinets, but these pens, I personally love the way that they write. And everyone has a favorite pen, right? Like, of course, everyone has a favorite pen. But I love when I can find something that I truly love. I will rebuy it. Like, I will use this pen, this green one, I have been using with one of my other favorite things that I rebuy constantly, Moleskine journals. Okay. Give me a knockoff. I like the idea. It's just not the same. Like, give me a Moleskine, please, with the classic lines. It's college ruled. If you like wide ruled lines, we cannot be friends. And no, we can. But college ruled is superior. And this green pen matches my new green journal. And I'm going to use this pen. It doesn't have a single drop of ink left in it. And then I will use my other green one to match my green journal. And before that, I had my purple journal. And so you know what we were using? The purple one. And before that, I had the blue journal. And you know what we were using? The blue one. Okay. So love it.
You are, I want to be Maggie when I grow up. It is just, it's too good. I love it. You were also going along with the green thing. That's what Maggie was saying about her bag and everything like that. She was also my bridesmaid this summer and my wedding in August. She was my sage green girl. So it's just a sage green all around. I love that. I want to share one and I want to talk about this because one of my favorite brands, I've repurchased this. It's the super trendy Summer Fridays Lip Butter Balm. Okay.
I saw you had that before.
Yes. I use these all the time. I have so many. I probably have had maybe 5 or 6 now at this point, which is a lot. They're, I think, $24 each. So that's over $100 in lip balm in the last couple of years. However, love their lip balms. I love the way they feel. I love the little applicator. I love the colors. There's not really much color all the time, but some of them have color. Here's the thing though. What I have noticed recently, okay? In the winter, they don't get my lips enough hydration.
Like they're not like moisturizing enough
because I'm reaching for it every couple hours. So they're not, which, hey, that could just be due to dryness, whatever. I'm not going to blame the brand. I still love this product. However, here's where I can get intentional. These are expensive. I love you, Summer Fridays. I'm going to continue to buy your lip balm. Okay?
In the summer on Friday.
That too. But even in the winter, I think I'm going to continue to buy you because I love you. I love your product and I need something extra. So what
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do is I'm going to go find a more affordable option for the winter, maybe just a good old classic Aquaphor or whatever it may be. And I'm going to use that so that I use you for fun. But for sustainability, I'm using a more affordable product that's moisturizing a little bit more than your product.
Yeah.
And that is the power of choice, of saying, hey, I love a product and you're not a super cheap product. Therefore, I have to be intentional with you. This is something, I'm going to share this and then I'm probably running out of, well, I'm not running out of favorite things, but I could go on and on and on, and I'm not going to do that.
We'll probably cut it after that.
Cut it after that. There's two things happening for me. I'll probably end my wrap after this, Maggie, and if you want to share another one or two. I am on a journey to trying to transition a lot of products to being fragrance free in our household. It's my thing right now. It's just what I'm doing. I'm trying to become fragrance free.
Would you mind
So
sharing why?
I learned when I was sick. So this is really interesting. It's a recent thing for me. I'll tell you the main reason and then I'll give you the secondary reason. The main reason for me is that I noticed when I was sick this past January with the flu, smells, candles, anything with scent was making it more difficult to breathe. I felt
Interesting.
like I couldn't breathe from the flu. And if a candle was lit, there was something about the smells that was like activating almost like I don't know if it's like asthma or what, because I used to have that when I was little. Breathing became more difficult with scents around me, specifically candles. So that was my main reason of like evidence for myself. However, from what I've looked at like secondary evidence, fragrance is just one way that you're just adding more chemicals into your life and more things into your life that really they don't have to be here. However, so with that being said, I still like some fragrances, right? So we don't have to go all or nothing like I used to in the past. We're using up products, blah, blah, blah. But I'm looking forward to being able to say, wow, this is cool, because my husband's like kind of into it. So he's like, yeah, let's just get fragrance free body wash and we both use it. Boom. We don't have a bunch of different body washes in our shower now. We have one beautiful fragrance free one, hand soap, everything like that. Like it kind of simplifies. So I'm also excited for that. It also, fragrance free, I'm not loyal to any brand. I don't care. Just look for no fragrance. Right? So when we go to the store and that goes on the list, fragrance free laundry detergent. That's the only thing we have to look for. So it's kind of multiple reasons.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I think that is one of those types of things that it you probably keep that to yourself more often than not because you like
Mm.
maybe don't feel like explaining it or are just, not interested in people sharing their opinions, judging you, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that happens a lot with our favorite things, right?
Mm.
Is there's some things that we love or things that we're trying to do and we feel like we don't want to share them because we just don't want to deal with like what's going to come with sharing
Mm.
them. And at least I know for me that happens. It happens a lot to me. I feel like I decide not to share something because I just am not interested in the response. And
Mm-hmm.
I hope that we all, me, you, everyone listening, can be a little bit more excited about our favorite things and not be so worried about what other people think, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the um, topics that kind of strings all of these things together and all of our episodes together is that you know what is best for you, right? Only you know what's best. And it's okay to be unapologetic about it, right? It's okay
Mm-hmm.
to go after those things. It's okay to love those things. It's okay to share about those things when you're
Mm-hmm.
excited about them, right? And it's okay that not everyone's going to agree with you on them.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay that they're going to have different opinions. They get to have their own opinion because they know what's best for them and they
Mm.
get to have their own favorite things, right? So
Amen.
I hope that this episode just helped you see that whatever it is that's your favorite, that's great. And we're so excited for you to have your
Mm.
favorite things too.
Thank you, Meg. Oh, that was that gave me the warm and fuzzies.
It's like a hug.
It was like a hug. And I want to smell your hair.
I do need to wash it, but it still probably smells
It
okay.
doesn't matter. It's going to smell like you. And that is when I love someone, that's what I want to do. I can't wait one day. everybody, it's going to be like a thing, I think. Maybe we should make some t-shirts of it. When we have like live in-person shows and like we're able to like be with you, because that is like, for me, like
Goals.
talking about the community goals, the community aspect of like, we see you on social media and we get to see like when you leave comments and reviews, and thank you for doing that, by the way. Please keep doing that because that really helps our show grow. And more than anything, I think I'm like, human, you're here. We're not just like putting an episode into the abyss, like we're building a community. And so when I think about like live shows and things like that, and like seeing your faces in an audience and talking with us and hugging you after, I think that's going to be my thing. It's just going to be like, I can't wait to smell you. It's going to be the merch.
And
Meg will smell you.
Is actually pretty good because everybody who knows will know.
You
know what I mean?
Oh, there's
like
nobody else.
Yeah.
Oh, there is nobody else. And I also probably really need to keep a lid on that because people are like, aren't you a therapist? Like, don't you meet in person with people and do things? I'm like, yes. And I practice self-restraint and I actually haven't had the impulse to smell everybody, but maybe one day.
Maybe one day. Well, we'll leave you with that.
We'll leave you with that. We love you all. Thank you for being here. And yes, Maggie, that was a warm hug at the end.
Warm hugs for everyone. We will see you next week. I love you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us on another episode of You Can Trust Yourself with Meg and Maggie. Our mission is to leave you with encouragement and tools to nurture your ability to trust yourself. If you found this episode valuable, don't forget to subscribe and please share it with a friend. Then take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating and review. Your support helps our show grow, and for that, we are extremely grateful. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can watch the episodes. Till next week, lots of trust and love, Meg and Maggie.